Okay, so since we're recording, thank you so much again for joining me today. Please introduce yourself for our audience.
I am Meg Manzano. I am a stylist and a writer. That's it.
Hi everyone, my name is Artu Nepomuceno. I am a photographer based here in the Philippines.
Okay, so thank you so much, Sir Artu and Miss Meg. I can't believe it's almost, I think, 3 years since we last saw each other from the documentary. And if you're wondering, the reason why I started this Vanguard slash podcast is because of both of you guys. When ever since we made this documentary, I saw the dynamic between Miss Meg and Sir Artu, like fashion and art, and then this episode is about a creative collision of fashion and art. So it's like the epitome of you guys in one episode. So yeah, I would just like to ask first, how are you? How are you in general, both of you po? And what is the current state of photography and styling in your industry?
I love that you just point to me to tell me that it's my turn to talk. Well, at the moment, like we're okay. Since we last saw you, we actually got married before the pandemic and before Taal. So it's been a whirlwind of a year. But since then, also, I think COVID sort of hit close to home, and some of our loved ones got it. And I think that's really influenced how we see shoots nowadays. I think as opposed to before that we sort of weigh in the disadvantages of, let's say, taking a particular shoot. Now we're looking at the dangers of taking a shoot, and we've been really picky. We've been very much of the work that does come in. It's always those that have safety protocols that we agree with, and it's always with people that we trust. So yeah, that's pretty much, and I'm pretty much how we've been. And we've added one more dog since we last saw him.
Yes po. How about you, Mr. Artu?
He's also added
Um,
one more dog.
it's I mean exactly what Meg said. Like we got married, we suffered a little bit from Taal, and then we're definitely also one of those that kind of got hit by COVID. So um, I have to say on a personal side, it's been quite an interesting beginning for our marriage. Not something that you will. It's definitely a story that we're going to be able to tell our kids one day of how interesting our life started together, I guess. For business wise or for work, we definitely took a big break from work. Not for any other reason than safety. It's especially in the beginning, safety protocols were not standardized and everything, and it just wasn't worth the risk. So nowadays, we've really tried to shift our work towards adjusting to what is considered safe and what is actually it's been quite interesting because we've been exploring a lot of very different aspects of the industry.
I totally agree with both of you. I think COVID did not only affect like a specific industry. I think it affected everything. But I also think that it greatly affected the creative industry because I believe yun nga, there is a need of face to face, and there's also a need for an audience. So for both of you po, like how was the transition from face to face to everything digitalized, from the shoots to the communication with your clients and through work? How was it po?
Um, it's I have to say on our side, or at least I'll speak for myself. Um, I kind of super love the transition. You know, that of course the situation is not good. You know, we are facing through a we are facing a very difficult time, but it's also forced the industry to make things work with the given situation. Meaning, uh, before COVID, there would be a pre-production meeting which was physical. There would be other kinds of meetings that were physical and all of that. And then you'd lead up to the shoot, and then you'd have all of these other unnecessary meetings that were physical. Now, because of the pandemic, it's forced clients to figure things out remotely and do things from the comfort of our home. And this is something that, like Meg and I have always talked to about with our fellow colleagues in the industry, that there's so many meetings that don't require physical meetings. We could have done it all in through Zoom and everything. So now it's great because now it's finally happening. No choice.
So it's more of a convenience for on your end po. Okay. Another thing I'd like to ask is how you both keep your creative juices flowing. Like for me, as a student, as a also who's studying art, I've had a really hard time like looking for inspiration, looking for reasons to create. So as people who are in the creative industry, how do you keep your creative juices flowing?
I think, well, at first it did start off like that. I think at the start of the pandemic, there was, for one, this pressure to need to create, to ensure that our, like, all of our creative muscles are constantly being flexed, or like there's this pressure to learn or to do something with their time and everything. And I think, like, at the start it was good, and it prompted Artu to, learn how to garden and all about his cacti and everything. It prompted me to learn a little more about, something more in the province of retail. But it's really different for everyone. I don't want to, I don't want to have to dictate, nor to go along with that pressure that you have to stay creative, because, like, right now you're not just really working from home. We're we're trying to work in the middle of a global pandemic, like, I think, to put it so casually, that we're at home is crazy. I mean, and also just because there's so much going on. I mean, I think it was like a New York Times article that mentioned, like, after so many months in a pandemic, like, the collective emotion we're all feeling right now is actually one of, like, languishing. So for those who are able to put out their creative juices, who are able to create, or who are using this as an outlet, really just find, like, they're a good baker pala, or they're really good at taking naps, or they're really good at cooking or everything like that. Like, that's incredible. Or, like, for those who have learned to paint or even to write because of the pandemic, like, that's incredible. But I do feel like, we have to be not too hard on ourselves and allow ourselves this time to really be worried, to really have to just watch romantic comedies, or to really cuddle with our pets, but yeah.
How about you,
What do
sir?
you,
Um, I think I'd just put it simply that you can't force creativity. Um, it's hard to force inspiration, to force being creative. It's hard to force that on yourself. Um, in my experience, every time I try to force myself to be creative, I end up not using anything that I do create, just because there is a negative attachment to it, to the project or to whatever it is I'm doing. So going back to your question about like how do I stay creative, during the pandemic. I think it's more that I've allowed myself to not be creative and not feel bad about it, so that when the time does come that I do feel creative, it's there, and then I attend to it. But I guess from past experience prior to the pandemic, pushing creativity or forcing it just never really works. And like what Meg said, like this pandemic has been kind of like the discovery of is has been for a lot of people the discovery of like new crafts, new hobbies that also deal with creativity. And one way or another, if example you're into painting but you're a photographer as well, that kind of feeds off each other. You know, you lose inspiration in being a painter at one point, you start jumping into photography, you find some creativity there, then it just goes back and forth. So yeah, I think this pandemic somehow, for those who are looking at it in an optimistic point of view, they've really found something that they could work on, which has been really really nice to see.
And I think it goes in line with, I remember my old writing professor mentioned that for if you're a writer, you should learn other expressions of art or other outlets. Just because you will always be hard on yourself, even if you say you're only writing for fun, or you're not really taking it seriously. The fact is, no matter what, the words on the paper, you'll be hard on yourself for it. You'll police every single thing. So it's easier for you to have an outlet wherein, if you're a writer, you can learn how to paint. That way, even if you're bad at it, even if it doesn't come off so good or anything impressive, you were still able to create. Like, you're still able to have that outlet of it. And I guess it rings true for now, for those of us who are looking for other outlets. I mean, if you're a photographer, like what Artu said, and you do want to paint, you're able to have that space to really just create something without having to have like the set of standards you usually set on yourself. So it's a nice release, I think.
Um, what you mentioned earlier about working from home, how do you set boundaries? Like, because I know that answering emails or answering messages from Instagram or like other platforms, it can be pretty harsh because some message at 3 a.m. or even worse, like very late or very early in the morning. So how do you set boundaries in that?
I think honestly, and I think freelancers or creatives have had sort of a leg up when it comes to working, from home because of the lockdown, because of the pandemic. Because from the get-go, I remember being warned that for as long as you don't have a corporate job, for as long as, let's say, you're a creative or an entrepreneur, and you don't have a 9 to 5, what you trade in for that 9 to 5 is actually a 24/7. So, despite us not having to physically, like, even from before the pandemic, even if I didn't have to report to a particular office or have to clock in, the fact is, because I'm a stylist or because I have my own team, even when I'm not working, I have that worry, or I'm thinking a little. I'm thinking about the present job. I'm thinking out about the people under me. I'm thinking about how to better be efficient. So I think it's been a little smoother than expected in terms of setting boundaries, because we've never had any. As freelancers, as creatives, even when you say you're not working, even when you're scrolling on Instagram, the fact of the matter is you are still scrolling on Instagram, but you also are subconsciously looking for pics. You also are subconsciously saving a particular Instagram post because you like how it's written or because you like how it's shot, So that's still a moment of your time that's spent working for your creative career. So,
We also have kind of taken the weekends off. That's
yeah.
something that we we started noticing when before the COVID, before the pandemic, work was work. So even if we had a shoot on a Sunday, as long as it was a shoot or something, we take it. But nowadays, with working from home, we have all our entertainment here at home. We have our bed right here. Like we have a sofa so we can sleep. So there's just a lot of temptations to just not get to work. But I think um, doing work as kind of treating it like a 9 to 5 from home and then taking the weekends off has been really good, like a form of a schedule, because more than anything, working from home or living at home and doing work at home, it requires a lot of self-discipline. It's really dangerous to get into the trap of constantly working. The burnout is going to be really fast, but it's also the other way around. We can just decide not to work at all and just Netflix the whole week, and not even notice the time flew by. So it's really a lot of self-discipline.
Speaking of Netflix, what are your favorite shows so far to watch?
Oh,
Billion.
yeah, Billions would be one of that. We super fell in love with Billions, which is not even finished with their seasons. Meg convinced me to start watching a few K dramas, and I've actually quite enjoyed it.
My mom.
What's it lasting? We watched Meg.
Vincenzo.
Yeah, we watched that one. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, but even my mom watches the whole day of K drama. Um, okay, so enough about the pandemic. It's been getting, overrated. Talking about how the shift was. I'd like to know more about what you're doing right now. I heard that Miss Meg launched a collaboration last, I think, October and January with Shape Shop. So would you like to tell us more about how you curated or the style that you incorporated in that collection?
Oh, that was October. Actually, that was from, I think we started working on it June or July, and it came up only just because you know, um, I had so many ideas. I think it was a natural progression from styling in the sense that I always approached styling our wardrobe as building blocks. So like a shirt isn't always to just be paired with, the usual jeans or the trousers, or it wasn't always supposed to be there, no. Like there was always this idea to reimagine a shirt. Now, oh, okay, there's a way for this skirt to actually be a shirt itself, it was all, I think I was disciplined by my mentor in that sense that they don't have to be used just as they are, because otherwise you wouldn't be styling, like you just be a dresser, if you just use them as they are. So your task is really to be creative and really to rethink um, how they're made, how you garment someone. So I think from there, when I decided that, styling, because sometimes it is pretty much close contact, and because of all the risks involved, there was this need for me to just, I had so many ideas of what I wanted to wear. I had so many ideas of my uniform at home, or what I felt like my mom would love to wear, my sisters would love to wear, my friends would love to wear. And I think being a stylist for years, they always come to me for advice on, them feeling better about themselves, or them feeling like they look good. So I really just wanted like this sort of love letter, or this thing that I could put out. And I actually named it, like each piece is actually named after a particular person. So like one, like a Mila dress named after my mom, because I always loved the idea, and she was always in a dress growing up. But I loved the idea that she would go gardening in a dress, or like a pair of like or like a onesie, or like a sports bra or something like that. So it was just not really me being creative, but me just trying to satisfy my want to put something out. And I was so lucky because the Shape Shop is really by a good friend. It's by Angela Go and her mom, Patty Go, who's incredible. And they've been making pieces for years, and I'm not a full-fledged designer myself. I mean, that's why this collaboration I felt like was um, instrumental to me seeing like all the nitty gritty and the technical details that go behind the creation of each garment. Like you think like a shirt is so or like a shirt or like a pair of trousers is so simple, but then you see the ins and outs of it, and oh my gosh, I have a newfound appreciation for seamstresses and for pattern makers.
Um,
Artu actually helped me with the menswear in January. So he was my model and co-conspirator for that with Shape Shop because they launched that with Artefino earlier this year.
But that's still like 99% Meg. Like that 1% is me.
Actually, when I saw the collection, I was like, this is what this is like something they would wear when I first met them. When I
Yeah.
first met both of you, like it's the nudes, the
Mm.
army greens. Do you plan on creating your own brand in the future?
Well, Artu's been pushing me to. We'll see. Right now, I'm perfectly happy living in the world of collaborations because I feel like I have so much to learn from the people that I am blessed to work with. So it's definitely a dream, but definitely something I want to do right. So it's something that I feel like will take a few years at the least.
Thank you, Miss Meg. First, Sir Artu, I think you have a lot of workshops, a lot of sessions. How was it for you to conduct all of this during the pandemic?
Tiring. No, um, no, I realized somewhere along the line in the pandemic that um, I'm not I wasn't willing to go out to do shoots. So that was the first thing. It was just we were just so scared to do shoots. So I kind of like had like a sit down with myself, and I kind of wrote down all the things that I might be good at, things that I could be good at, or the things that I might be lacking in. And the one thing that's was definitely common in everything is that I'm a very talkative person, especially when it comes to photography. Like I can't stop talking, and that combined with my I guess my selfish want to make the standards of photography better in the whole country made me realize that I guess doing portfolio reviews, doing workshops was kind of like the space that I could I guess do well in. So yeah, it's been quite interesting. I'm learning how to use my words properly. I'm learning how to pace myself properly. I'm learning how to say less, even if I say a lot. It's been quite fun. It's been quite interesting, and I think more than anything, it's been really great to connect with a lot of people in the industry, especially photographers actually, because in this world it's a friendly competition, but we don't have the luxury of actually meeting each other. So the several spaces that I've actually gotten myself into or created or collaborated with has been a really great opportunity to connect with so many different interesting photographers and actually learn a lot about their process. And rather than it being kind of like, I'll steal this, I'll steal that protocol or design, it's sort of like, yeah, let's just kind of help each other build something unconsciously to make the practice better, which, it's been so cool.
Tell us more about your initiative tethered with
Yeah, so
okay.
sorry, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you. Yeah, so there's this app called Clubhouse. It came out. I don't actually remember when Clubhouse came out, but Clubhouse is the first, one of the first audio-only social platforms, social apps that came out, and it's been really interesting because it just completely destroys the whole need for video to have constantly fixing up and everything. I guess it kind of answers the question, the need of a lot of photographers where we don't like being in front of the camera, we like being behind it. So Clubhouse kind of met that. And when I first joined Clubhouse, I just really, really enjoyed the experience that I wanted to bring something in that was for Filipino photographers or Filipino creatives because there weren't that many spaces yet. So I felt like this was a good space to create that. So I started this thing together together with Meg and together with RG Medes Thomas and Matt Lee, photographers who Matt I actually met in a workshop in the pandemic, and RG has been like an old friend of mine in the world of photography. We started Clubhouse. We started with I don't know, with actually a surprising number of like 20 to 30 people who went to our first episode, basically talking about everything related to photography. Then now we're gonna be on our fifth episode, and it's just basically inviting a bunch of different photographers. The community is getting really big now. Last week we had 70 people listening in, which was pretty amazing because that's 70 people live. That was really fun, and we had really amazing creatives with us. And this week's going to be even more exciting. We have Paco Guerrero, Jason Kibilan, Ralph Mendoza, Gio Panlilio. It's just the cast that's getting in per episode is getting better and better. It's sort of like Game of Thrones level already. So pretty fun.
I actually joined the pilot, but I was too shy to ask a question because everyone there was
Please,
professionals.
I hope that you take that shyness away. I think a lot of people would love to hear your questions, particularly, and your voice. If I could, I would introduce you and put you on the spot, but I'll let you raise your hand and comment. So I hope this week you can join us and you can maybe raise a question. A very interesting topic. We're doing photographers and prints, so it's a pretty fun topic.
Actually, I was about to ask during that time, with the oversaturation of photography, since everyone is at home and, they have a mobile camera, they have cameras of their own, and they get to shoot themselves or other things in their house. What makes your photography or a person's photography different or stand out? Because yeah, I think Instagram has been more like saturated. Everyone's posting. So, in your opinion, as both the stylist and photographer, how do you what are your criteria or what's that certain thing that makes a person stand out?
Mm, I think it's actually, I absolutely welcome the surge of photography and, the surge of like people really just flexing and, just like, I love seeing how they see the world. I love seeing how they shoot themselves. And I do, like, I feel like it's a necessary thing. Like, I may not, like, if it's a friend that I haven't seen, obviously since the pandemic, it's still good. Like, I still feel connected to her because I know what she had for breakfast. She had tocino and bangus in one go. Like, I do love that. And it's really interesting because I'm seeing that there just there's not really one correct way to shoot, and you're seeing that, I think it's, I don't know, for me, I really enjoy it. I really enjoy seeing what people have to do, and it gets me excited in the same manner that when other people make mood boards, because I've had to make mood boards for so long. When other people make mood boards, I'm so like, I just want to keep looking at it. What do you think, Arts?
Yeah, I would say it's a double-edged sword. For creatives who are, I guess, finding their
Look.
let's say their vision, their look in during the pandemic, The reason why I say it's a double-edged sword is the positive side of it is if you look anywhere on social media, any platform on social media, or even if you just Google it, there is probably someone writing or there's a video up already on how to achieve a certain photograph. There are hacks everywhere, household hacks, cheap DIY versions of anything to do with light and everything. So that's the positive side. The negative side is the comparison. You are filled with a bunch of other photographers, a bunch of other creatives, a bunch of other artists, visual artists on the internet who are also probably looking into the same hacks or looking into the same, DIY stuff, no matter how infinite the content on the internet is. So the danger there is that these creatives copy um, other looks, other aesthetics, other styles out there, and they're not entirely sure if that's the style that represents them. So I would say like on my end, I guess I would say because of when I got into photography, I'm lucky that I didn't have that much access to the internet. Um, when I started getting into photography, Instagram didn't really exist. It was really just Facebook. So studying photography was much more introspective. It was more of like studying what I liked, studying and even reading books. Really looking into photographers who spoke to me. It wasn't just like I had so many options right away. So that helped me really figure out my style eventually. So nowadays it's a little harder because you're always going to compare your work to something that's so loud already online. So it's tough, but I guess for anyone who's there or whoever's listening to this podcast and is looking to find their style, no matter who you copy, the objective by the end of the day is to translate your culture of growing up. So if you feel like that your style has something to do with what you watched as a kid in terms of movies, how you grew up with your parents, what books you read, that's really the determiner of your style. So there you go.
Actually, I think I can relate to both of your sentiments because Miss Meg really likes looking for inspiration, and then Sir Artu think it's a double-edged sword. I think there was this one time where I really wanted to deactivate Instagram because there was so much noise, and sometimes it's not healthy anymore for me to keep scrolling, and yeah, I think we really need to look for the balance on looking for inspiration and then comparing like what Mr. Artu said. So um
If I may, you're
okay,
talking
go.
to someone who's deactivated her Instagram so many times.
Really?
And over the course of what do you call this? Like over the course of the pandemic, I've definitely felt the need to have my own space, and also just because I think the start of the pandemic, a lot of people, were organizing inumans. They were there. It was like one Zoom session after another to meet each other and to be connected. And I think after a while, there is this sense of like Zoom fatigue, and it's different. The kind of social interaction that you have to prepare yourself for when there is a laptop involved is different than if you had just had that person come over the house, and you wouldn't have to mind them the entire time. You wouldn't have to be glued to the screen the entire time. Like you could be preparing your coffee and they'd be sitting in the living room, and that would still count as interaction. This time it's like you guys are in front of it. There's no dead air as much as possible. So like that gets tiring. And even on Instagram, like I said, I as much as I did welcome, as much as I do welcome seeing everyone create and everything, um, I think it hits differently when you're going through something. So I think for the same manner that um, like when I said that like like we had our own bout of like a struggle and everything. And I think when you're in a bad place and then you scroll on Instagram and you find so many people in like whether it's their rant or something very small that they're talking about, like having the need to do this or that, and then I think it hits you worse because like you're already feeling bad and you know that they won't be able to relate. And at the same time, there comes a time when Instagram becomes this social media, like this avenue to broadcast, and you don't necessarily feel the need to, like, when I post, sometimes I think about, like, what am I posting it for, or who's it for? Like, why do I need to announce that this is something that I'm doing? Like, you get existential. But I think it's um whenever you feel that fatigue, honestly, whenever you feel like you're becoming the monster who compares, I think it's really important to just take yourself out of that space and learn to feel good about yourself again, but on your own terms and not on anyone else's social currency. Because I super hated how other people would just, they'd post like this incredible photograph, but then because it's not a selfie, it doesn't garner as many likes. And suddenly, like, you're like questioning your validity as, let's say, a photographer or a painter, and like you're wondering, like, why isn't it liked? So I'd really hate for that to be the basis of one's art and one's credibility. So deactivate if you must. It's a cleanse. In the same manner that you have to do detox every now and then for your body, like, have that for your emotional and mental health.
Miss Meg, I'm actually quite curious. You mentioned about feeling good about yourself. Do you dress up at home for no reason, just to feel good, or do you you like pick out outfits which you will never really wear until like a few weeks or so? And if
I
so, sorry, keep
No, go ahead,
going.
go ahead. You're saying?
How do you think the pandemic changed the way you dress as a stylist?
Well, now I'm definitely more utilitarian than, I mean, I already was. But I think now I'm looking at athletic material or pieces, just because I know that, okay, this isn't so bulky. So if I have to disinfect myself after a long day, I can just take it off and I could run to the shower. Like, Artu and I are very particular about our when we do go out, it's always for something out of necessity, and we're all very particular about what do we wear. Like, before we enter the car, we put our clothes in, like, a plastic bag or a garbage bag, and then we undress in front of the car. But like, Artu's wearing like super short shorts under like his jogging pants. I'm wearing like leggings under my shorts, actually. So it's definitely changed it. I'm more on the go now when I am going out, and I'm more particular about things that I won't have to necessarily disinfect. So, in terms of my bags, they have not left my house. They've just been gathering dust. But in terms of like dressing up at home, I do that a lot. Part because when I moved to this house with R2, like, actually 70% of my clothes are still at my parents' house. I haven't I haven't begun to really tackle that, and that's not something I want to figure out. But it's been something my mom has brought up before even the pandemic, that when you're having a very bad day, or when you feel like it's going to be a long day, I wear a dress. I If I know I'm going to be stressed at the end of the day, or like if it's just a day full of errands, pre-pandemic, I would wear a dress just because at least I can float from one errand to another. And similar now, there are dresses for wearing outside that have been converted to pajamas. And there are pajamas that are so moisture wicking that have been converted to going out. But I think definitely, if you need to feel good about yourself, if you need to put on makeup, not just for a Zoom meeting, but just so um, you have to double check that your makeup isn't expired, then by all means, do so. Because at the end of the day, it's really it's really like an outward reflection of how you see yourself. So,
Thank you, Miss Meg. Sir Artu, I would just like to ask, okay lang po ba kayo dyan? Kasi you're wearing a jacket and it's so hot.
it's so cold.
Oh, is it cold there?
We kind of had to prioritize turning the AC on both for work and for our dogs.
More for our dogs,
More for
though.
our dogs. Like we work tirelessly day and night so that our dogs should have a happy life, and that's AC included.
um, Basically, this wraps up our whole podcast episode. Thank you again for joining me. But before we end, in one word, wow, in one word, describe your state of creativity.
Moody.
How about you, Sir Artu?
He's going to say creative.
Sorry, what in one words? State what?
State of
State
creative.
state of creativity. Like describe your state of creativity.
Hungry.
Thank you
Always
again.
hungry.
Thank
Thank
you so much, Bianca.